The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Shay Neufeld. Shay is the Director of Data Products and Analytics at Inscopix. Shay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Shay, let's start with yourself, please, as we do with all of our guests. Could you give us an overview of your journey in technology, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and what's led you to where you are today as the Director of Data Products and Analytics for Inscopix?
My background is predominantly in neuroscience, I'd say with a computational and engineering focus. I studied physics and neuroscience in undergrad at McGill, where I had the chance to work in some really cool neurobiology labs. And that's really where I caught the research bug, not just in doing experiments to figure out how different aspects of the nervous system works, but in actually building tools to collect and interpret data like custom microscopes and analysis software. And from there, I went on to do my PhD in neuroscience at Harvard, where my research focused on trying to understand how neural circuits give rise to goal-directed decisions in an uncertain and ever-changing world. There were sort of two aspects of my time in graduate school that led me to developing skills in machine learning and AI. One was I really had to use these methods, and they were coming onto the world stage in the early 2010s as I was doing my PhD, like convolutional neural networks for object detection, to actually make sense of this kind of noisy brain activity data that I was collecting. And the second way was in actually understanding how to analyze the strategic behavioral decisions of the animals that I was using. In this case, they were rodents, they were mice. And it was in learning about reinforcement learning theory to understand how optimal agents make decisions based on noisy evidence and how that compares to how real animals like mice make decisions in similar situations. But my biggest takeaway from my time in academia was that while it was fun to build new technology to acquire and analyze data, it was really hard to share them with other scientists. And it was actually kind of sparing to see just how many redundant efforts go on in academic research. How many different people have to invent the same new analysis method because it ends up being easier to build it from scratch than to actually use what someone else has already done. And I came away from my PhD feeling like that more than anything else was slowing down the rate of discovery, especially in neuroscience, which was what I understood the best. Specifically, the lack of tools for sharing reproducible and usable data and analysis methods. So my experience in academia inspired me to become a better tool builder. And I went into industry for several years and worked as a data scientist and machine learning engineer in a couple of different roles. And there I got to work alongside super talented software engineers and product managers. And I learned what it takes to build a scalable and sustainable software product beyond just the cool machine learning or AI model that I was used to building and tinkering with for my own research. And I became passionate about taking what I learned in industry back to the field of neuroscience, where I could help build products to make computational and machine learning methods more accessible to the wider research field. And that kind of is what led me to Inscopix and my current job there as Director of Data Products and Analytics.
Thank you for that, Shay. The detailed background really helps paint a picture as to how and why you've landed where you are today at Inscopix, because I think it's a great path following your interests and using your background and making that switch from academia to industry. So you've landed sort of the ideal role in the ideal industry. So tell us all about Inscopix, who you are, what you do, what's the mission of the business.
Yeah, Inscopix is a cool company. It's been around for about 10 years, and it was spun out of Stanford when our founder and CEO developed a miniaturized microscope for acquiring real-time brain activity data. It was built on a method for acquiring brain activity data that's been around since the 80s, but the real innovation here was in miniaturizing the microscope So you can collect this kind of data from animals while they're freely moving around. You don't have to hold the animals underneath the microscope, but they can kind of wear this microscope as a helmet. And so you can let them make natural movements and natural decisions and understand how the neural activity is related to those behaviors. They've done a really fantastic job over the past decade in making this technology easy and accessible to a wide neuroscience audience, both in academia as well as in fostering collaborations with pharma and using this technology in preclinical research to identify new potential drug targets and therapies for a range of neurodegenerative and neuropsychiatric conditions. So I got there at the end of 2019, and my role was really to build up a team focused on building software products for managing and analyzing the data that's taken with and alongside these miniaturized miniscopes, both again in the academic setting where scientists use this technology for their own range of research, as well as in our own more focused translational efforts with pharma companies to find new drugs and therapies.
Thank you for that, Shay. That leads nicely then into understanding the day to day of what you and your team are working on. No, it's a cross collaboration of analytics, engineering, and ultimately creating the data products. But can you walk us through what it looks like day to day from typical project life cycle, the various teams involved, just how many people are involved, and what it's like to be part of the Inscopix data team?
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there with it being a collaborative effort across different skills and expertises. On the data products team here, we have computational neuroscientists that are actively doing research, both with our customers in academia and with our translational collaborations in pharma. So they're trying to figure out what are the best methods, computational methods, machine learning methods, to extract meaning in this data in ways that promote discoveries in the brain. And when we settle on a particular algorithm or method that we feel is valuable and useful for a wider audience, we then engage with the data engineers on the team to really productize that piece of code, to do the right tests, elevate it from a piece of scientific code to really a software product. And then from there, we work with backend and front end engineers on the team to build the experience around that algorithm so that it can appropriately interface with our databases, and that we build the right front end experiences so that end users can visualize and evaluate how this transforms their data into insights. So it's really that sort of journey from data science to data engineering to software engineering that turns a prototype method into a real product that can be used in both academia and industry.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Shay, you obviously come into Inscopix with a passion and background on the sciences side, but you're utilizing data science on a daily basis. As somebody who has the prior knowledge in neuroscience and where this technology can take us, what are some of the things that you're excited about when you think about Inscopix and its potential impact on this industry as a whole? What are the milestones that you're working towards? And if successful, what sort of changes can we expect to see?
Yeah, I think there's two major things that I'm really excited about, and that kind of reflects the two markets that we're playing in right now. One being the academic research market, and one being the more translational space. I think in the academic research market, we really have a chance to accelerate the pace of discovery by making the work that people do in academia more shareable and usable by other scientists. It dawned on me a few years ago that I felt like I could have a bigger impact in trying to create tools for other people to use than I could ever have in trying to do my own research and discovery. And perhaps that's a comment on my ability as a researcher. But I also think there is a tremendous amount of progress and acceleration of progress that can be made if scientists are better equipped with tools to actually manage and analyze the data. And I really feel like we're poised with a relatively small group of people here to make a huge impact on that entire field. And the second is in the translational space. And I think that, finding good therapies and drugs for neuro-related disorders and diseases has been really hard. There aren't a lot of success stories in that area of pharmaceuticals in the last 50 years. And I think part of the problem there has been a lack of efficacy in taking drugs that appear to work in animals to clinical success. And I think a lot of that has to do with not having the right access to data and analytics at that preclinical level. I'm really excited about what we're doing at Inscopix because I feel like we are on our way to making that preclinical part of drug discovery better for neuroscience. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that could translate into some better actual treatments for humans in the coming years when it comes to neurodegenerative and neuropsychiatric illnesses.
And I think it's a good time as well to talk about Inscopix reputation in the market broadly and how that's led to a positive update in terms of merger and acquisition, which if you could tell us a bit about that would be great because it really speaks to the confidence that outside investors have in what you're doing at Inscopix.
Yeah, just a few months ago, Inscopix was acquired by Bruker, which is a large public scientific instruments company that's been around for more than 50 years. It's a really exciting time for Inscopix, and I think for Bruker as well, that's looking to expand into the neuroscience and life sciences market. And I think we stand to gain a lot from being part of the Bruker family and learning from their continued success over the past few decades. And I agree. I think it speaks to the broader confidence that Bruker and others have in our technology and in really developing it and growing it so that it becomes a standard part of the neuroscience research process, both in academia and in pharma. And I think gives us some long-term stability and bigger growth potential as we think about building out this type of team.
Yeah, and you brought up the point that I want to talk about next, which is looking ahead at growth expected. Our audience are data professionals coming from all backgrounds and industries and often use the podcast to learn about new and exciting companies who are doing something within the broader field of data and AI. With the backing of a new owner and a surge of support, that's obviously going to have a knock on effect to the growth of the team. When you look at the project roadmap and the headcount roadmap over the next 12 to 24 months, where do you see investment in the team? What sort of opportunities and positions are going to be available? And part two of that question is when you're speaking to candidates about Inscopix, what is it that you tell them to get them excited to join you guys over some of the other great companies available?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be opportunities across the stack. And I mentioned that there's three main roles on this data products and analytics team, which is the more data science role, which is really a computational neuroscience role, because in this particular case, we do require some subject domain expertise in neuroscience research. But there's also a more conventional data engineering, machine learning engineering role. You work alongside data scientists and software engineers to really productize machine learning algorithms. And that's an area that we're looking to grow, especially as we look to expand the types of data that we are managing and analyzing. And so the types of methods that we want to be able to offer in our products. So certainly growth potential in that data engineering, machine learning, and computational neuroscience type of role. Of course, there's also going to be growth in more conventional software engineering roles, back end, front end as well. I would say that from a management perspective, I'm excited to grow, and I'm also excited to grow carefully. I think that when I talk to people about what opportunities there are on the team, we are still a pretty small team. My team here is about 10 people. Obviously, we're embedded in the larger Inscopix organization, which is now a part of an even larger Bruker family. But I think there's a lot of good things that come from working on a relatively small team. And there's a tremendous amount of ownership that everyone feels on the team. And as we add to that, we're looking for people who really want to lead the direction of products, lead the innovation and the technology that we're using to build these products. And I think there's opportunity to have a high impact on a product that can, or a family of products that can change the way that a lot of neuroscience research is done.
Shay, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. Really appreciate you going into so much depth about your own journey and background and And great to see you land in a place that is a perfect combination of your passion for neuroscience, but also utilizing your expertise in data science at Inscopix. Very cool work that you're doing. And obviously, with the acquisition from Bruker, it really speaks to the opportunity that Inscopix can have to have a real impact on your industry. And finally, then the growth ahead. Sounds a lot more opportunity for people working in the field to join and help you and the team continue to be successful. So we wish you, the team, and everyone at Inscopix the best of luck in the months and years to come. And we look forward to having you back on the show.
It was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.